So, Chris, the first time that we actually met, and maybe you remember, I think you do, I hope you do, was in New York City. We were in the basement of some restaurant. It was a good restaurant, typical New York style, crammed into a small space. But
Sure.
I remember you walking down the stairs. You had your suit on, but you also had a big duffel bag. And my immediate reaction was, oh, he must be just coming from the gym, getting his workout in. And I had asked you that, and you didn't really reply right away. You kind of just unzipped your duffel bag a little bit and let me look into it. And sure enough, it was just papers and folders and papers. And you told me these are legal docs. And I sat there and I was like, one, it reminded me of why I'm not a lawyer. That's for sure.
Sure.
And we didn't get to talk about those legal docs or anything until I think later in the night when we actually sat next to each other during dinner. But the conversation that we had kind of revolved around what are you doing with these legal docs and how in the world can one individual comb through this sheer amount of documents. So I thought maybe we could start by talking about just your ability to focus for long periods of time, and like how do you think that's separated you from others and giving you an advantage?
Yeah, sure. I definitely remember that. Feels like an eternity ago, but certainly remember that. And I get teased quite a bit about the duffel bag, and then also on a few trips here and there, I'm known to compress a lot of things into a small space. Maybe that emanates from the Marine Corps days, but yeah, I mean, I typically carry around, especially it's fairly common for lawyers to carry around a lot of documents. Oddly enough, I'm not a litigator. Which is more common for litigators, but I'm more on the corporate side. So you're typically carrying, partnership agreements and, various documents like that. But I'd say anytime you look at my bag, it's going to be split between probably two groups of documents, work related, and then just personal research. I like to read a lot of economic research reports, and that sort of thing. So I'm typically going between the two of those. But great question on the focus point. I think is something that we all struggle with, everybody. It's just a common issue that everyone struggles with in this day and age with so much connectivity and having mobile devices at our hands. For me, it was a lot of it just emanated to productivity, right? Being able to get a lot of output, being focused. I had read a book called Deep Work by Cal Newport. It's fairly common, very popular book now. I don't know if you've read it, but read it a few years ago. It's definitely been sort of in my top 10 books of just one of the most influential in terms of my personal professional growth. And a lot of what that book talked about was our inability to focus, our inability to do deep, sustained focus work. Not 30 minutes, 40, 45 minutes, but 3, 4, 5 hours of uninterrupted concentration, not checking the phone, not checking email, which is hard. It's hard in a corporate setting, it's hard in our personal lives. And so I've just try to find ways to cultivate that, right? Whether it's time blocking or whether it is being very methodical about calling some of the shallow, if you will. I mean, that's a phrase used in the book, but basically knowing what's important and what's not important. I think that's probably what's enabled me to do so well so quickly is that ability to focus and just be long-term focus and sort of, incrementally break it down and kind of work backwards.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, as you read this book, and I think you said Deep Work by Cal Newport.
Cal Newport. Yep. I think there's a TEDx talk on it as well. Really good. Highly recommended. The book, very readable. But it's one of those books where you end up highlighting, it's 80% of the book. But if you can master just the techniques in that book, you'll do really well.